How do you make something macho look even more macho? If you're a bodybuilder, you'd probably wear a tight-fitting shirt to make those muscles pop. If you're the Ford Everest, you'd take all the chrome bits you can find and black it out. And that's exactly what we have here. This is the 2021 Ford Everest Sport, and in this video, we get to check out its macho bits. Let's do this! Hello guys, I'm Reagan and welcome back to another car review. If you're new to my channel, I hope you hit that subscribe button and become part of the Reagan Strides family. If you're my subscriber already, thank you so much for your support by watching this video. I also hope that you give it a like. Also, special thanks to Ford Alabang for this awesome opportunity to feature the 2021 Ford Everest Sport. If you have any inquiries at all for any of the Ford lineup, you may head on down to Ford Alabang and check them out. Or for any inquiries at all, you may contact the person in my description below. The Everest Sport slots just above the base model Trend and below the higher trim 4x2 Everest Titanium. It was introduced in mid-2020 as a sportier, more rugged alternative to the 4x2 Titanium at a lower price point. This Everest Sport retails for 1,868,000 Philippine pesos, and it managed to do that by removing some niceties and amenities that can be found in the higher trim Everest Titanium 4x2. Now we'll see if these removed bits and pieces will be missed or not. Now, the Everest Sport may slot in below the higher trim Titanium, but when it comes to good looks, it is off to a fantastic start. The Everest Sport swaps out those chrome bits that can be found in the other variants and replaces them with these blacked out pieces here and there. The Sport also has these blacked out letters here that spells the word Everest for that added sporty vibe. Now, I must admit I'm not really a fan of this kind of design, but when it comes to the Everest Sport, it is really quite good looking, especially when you pair it to this deep crystal blue paint job that is exclusive to the Sport variant. There's also LED headlights here and LED DRLs, and the Sport also gets this blacked out honeycomb front grille here that ties it closer to the other Ford super trucks in the stable. Even the front bumper overrider and the front skid plate have been blacked out for that added menacing look. Now, the side profile of the Everest Sport continues on with its sporty theme. The first thing that you'll notice are the wheels. While these wheels are the same size and design as the Everest Titanium, these wheels have been given the blacked out treatment for that added sporty vibe. These wheels are 20 inches and they're wrapped in 265/50 R20 tires. Now, another sporty theme that can be found here are the power folding blacked out side mirrors with LED side repeaters. You also have a blacked out roof rail here, and the pièce de résistance is you have a Sport decal here at the bottom part of your door. Now, the Sport loses the puddle lamps that can be found in the Everest Titanium, but I'd gladly trade those puddle lamps to get all of these blacked out sporty bits. Performance-wise, the Everest Sport is the same as the other Everest variants. You get ventilated disc up front and solid disc at the back, and you have 225 millimeters of ground clearance, which is pretty respectable for a 7-seater pickup-based SUV. And for flood wading capacity, you get 800 millimeters, which is great news for people who live in flood-prone areas. Now, the rear end of the Everest Sport continues on with its blacked out sporty theme. You get a blacked out center garnish here with the words Everest printed there, also in black. Now, you also have the standard LED taillights that can be found in the other Everest variant, and the rear bumper overrider is also finished in black. Now, you'll be happy to know that despite being just a mid-spec variant, the Everest Sport has a power liftgate, as you can see right there. Now, when you pop open the liftgate, you'll see that with the third row in use, you get 420 liters of trunk space, and we'll see how it fares when it comes to my luggage test. I have here my medium-sized luggage, and as you can see, 420 liters is perfectly large enough to fit my medium-sized luggage, and you've got room to spare at the sides. Now, if you are going on a longer trip that would require more luggage, you could always manually tumble down the third row seats, and it folds flat to the floor to give you over 1,000 liters of trunk capacity. Now, with the third row folded, that should give you enough space for 3 medium-sized suitcases here, a fourth one here, and a fifth one on top. That is perfect for a month-long trip. Now, if you need more space than over 1,000 liters, then you can also tumble down the second row seats, and that should give you 2,010 liters of cargo capacity, which is perfect for a trip to IKEA. Now, the good thing here is the Everest Sport also has the same maximum towing capacity as the other Everest variants. You get 3,000 kilos of brake towing capacity in your Everest Sport. The Everest Sport has the same engine that's found in the 4x2 Titanium, and that is a 2-liter single turbo diesel engine that churns out 178 horses and 420 Newton meters of torque. Now, power is sent to the rear wheels via the same 10-speed automatic transmission that can be found in the 4x2 Titanium. Now, during the weekend that I've had this beast, fuel economy returned to me at around 8 kilometers per liter in the city and 15 kilometers per liter in the highway. Now, that is pretty decent considering that I have a pretty heavy right foot. The Everest Sport pretty much has the same amenities and features inside as the Everest Titanium 4x2, except you lose out on a few niceties here and there, which, to be perfectly honest guys, will not even be missed. The Everest Sport omits the power adjustment for your front passenger seat. It also loses out the ambient lighting, and you also lose the navigation. These are nice to have, but to be really honest guys, I wouldn't even mind not having them in the Everest Sport. The Sport, however, still gets power adjustments on your driver's seat, and you do have leather seats all around inside the cabin. The steering wheel is also nicely wrapped in leather, and it is quite softly padded. And the Everest Sport trades up all of those missing bits and pieces because you do get blue contrast stitching on your steering wheel, on your seats, and you also have a nice blue accent that can be found in the middle dashboard and on your door trims. I am quite fond of this blue design that can be found in the Everest Sport. In fact, I find it better looking than the gray ones found in the other Everest variants. Now, when you move over to your instrument gauges, you have the same gauges that can be found in the other Everest variants and even the Ranger series. You have an analog speedometer in the center, which is flanked by 2 LED information displays on both sides, which includes your vital stats and also your tachometer. From your gauges, you move over to your infotainment system, and you have an 8-inch touchscreen affair here that has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are pretty much must-haves already for these newer and modern SUVs. You also get a reverse camera here, and the resolution is very decent. It is also pretty clear. Now, the good thing here is the infotainment system powers a 10-speaker setup, and that includes a subwoofer. So this Everest Sport has a fantastic audio quality, and it punches way above its weight for its price point. Now, from there you go down to your climate control system. You have a fully automatic climate control system here, and since the Everest Sport is a 4x2 model, it's not a 4x4, you don't get a 4x4 drive mode knob here, nor you get the terrain management modes. So instead of getting that 4x4 knob, you get a small circular cubby here that can conveniently house your key fob or some Mentos if you want to keep your breath fresh. Now, we have a couple of cup holders here, which, as you can see, it already fits my Clean Canteen. If we're going to subject it to the Clean Canteen test, I'm very confident because all Ford models are made to have cup holders that can accommodate really large drinks. So I'm going to show you right now, although I think you already saw it. See, it easily fits my Clean Canteen. Both cup holders are a big pass when it comes to my Clean Canteen test. You have a traditional handbrake here and a leather wrap center armrest here that also has a nice large cubby there. Another thing that's missed out apparently with this Everest Sport versus the Everest Titanium is the fact that, well, the driver doesn't get a vanity mirror. So you'll have to check your teeth on the rear view mirror if you want to know if you have something in between your teeth. Now, when you look at the entire cockpit layout of this Everest Sport, it's pretty much similar to the same ones that you can find in the Ranger series and the other Everest variants, except for, well, the blue contrast stitching and the blue accents that can be found here and there. This cabin layout is pretty much functional, straightforward, and it's a rugged layout that is befitting a rugged SUV. Now, the second row seats of the Everest are as spacious as, well, 7-seater pickup-based SUVs would go. I'm 5'6" and I have around 8 inches of knee room before my knee touches the seat back of the driver, and I have around 5 inches of headroom before I touch the headliner. Now, this Everest Sport doesn't have a panoramic sunroof, just like the 4x4 Everest Titanium, so you get a little bit more headroom space right here at the back. Now, for toys, guys, you'll be happy to know that you get ceiling-mounted AC vents here for the second and the third row. You also have a separate blower control that's found here at the bottom part, but you don't get any USB charging ports. However, you do get a 12-volt power outlet, so that will make do for your charging duties. You also have a center armrest here in the middle that houses a couple of cup holders over there. Now, I won't go to the third row seats anymore and demonstrate how the third row seats look like, because I already did that in my previous Everest Titanium 4x4 video. If you're still curious though, you may click the link above and watch that video for yourself. But for now, we're taking this Everest Sport out for a quick drive. Alright guys, so we're now behind the wheel of the Ford Everest Sport, and first up, seat comfort. The good thing about these Ford SUVs is seat comfort is pretty above average, guys. I got a good amount of support here, and luckily the Everest Sport also has a manual lumbar adjustment, lumbar support here, so that way my lower back wouldn't have any issues at all, even on a long drive. Going to this location, it was pretty much a long drive and it was not an issue at all. Now, visibility is pretty much expected from an SUV that's based off the Ford Ranger lineup, and that means that I have a good commanding view of the road. I got a wide open view up front, and I also have a nice wide open view on the sides. Now, when it comes to a steering feel, the steering feel of this Everest Sport is also pretty light. As light as the Ranger FX4, as light as the Ford Expedition, but not as light as the Ford Territory. Ford really likes to tune their steering wheels to be a little bit more on the light side, and I must admit, guys, that is a big plus when it comes to an SUV of this size. Despite having large 20-inch wheels, it's quite easy to maneuver this Ford Everest when you're going around in tight city roads. I've had a few opportunities to park this beast around in the mall parking area and in my condo's parking slot, and parking through a tight spot is pretty easy with this steering wheel. Now, having said that though, the steering wheel is also nicely weighted, and that's also another plus point there. Feedback could be tuned a little bit better though, but I'm not really complaining. It's still a decently tuned steering feedback. Now, when it comes to the overall driving dynamics, I'm a little bit taken back by this Everest Sport. You see, I've driven the Ranger Raptor and I've driven the Everest Titanium 4x4, both of which sported the newer 2-liter bi-turbo diesel motor. This beast, however, only has a single turbo. It's still a diesel and it's still a 2-liter, but we only have a single turbo. Now, as you can see, I'm negotiating this pretty steep road here, and it feels heavy. It feels like the Everest Sport is struggling to get up an incline. I'm not saying that it will have a hard time going up an incline, but it just feels like it's exerting more effort than you normally would, like with a Ranger Raptor or with the 4x4 Everest Titanium. The fact that we only have a single turbo means that this Everest Sport pretty much drives like a regular truck, and that means that you have a little bit of a delay on the low end before the power, the torque takes a bite and propels you on your journey. The thing is, once the turbo kicks in, this Everest Sport can go really fast, and I mean like really fast. I'll show you a little bit right now. We're going up another steep incline road here, and as you can see, now that the turbo has kicked in, it's going at a brisk pace. Well, braking is also pretty good. See, now we're trying to go up here from standstill. It's having a little bit of a harder time than normal, but once the turbo kicks in, then you have no problems at all. You are on your way. Now, because of that huff and puff nature of the single turbo diesel engine at the lower end or at low speeds or from standstill, when you put the hammer down and you want to go faster, well, you could easily hear the diesel noise coming into the cabin. And that's a little bit of a bummer also when it comes to the NVH, because while you're driving this beast, you already know that you are, yes, driving a diesel-powered SUV. It's a diesel-powered truck, and it makes itself known because you could really hear it coming into the cabin. You could hear that diesel noise. Luckily though, when it comes to the vibration, there's hardly any vibration that can be found inside. In fact, there's no vibration that can be found here. So it's just the diesel noise coming from the engine when you're trying to go at a little bit of a faster clip. Now, when it comes to suspension feel and overall handling, the Everest Sport pretty much handles just like the other Everest variants. And that means that it is telling you that it is still based off the Ford Ranger pickup. You won't get the same refinement that you'd expect, let's say, from a Ford Territory or even the Ford EcoSport, because this is still a pickup-based SUV, so you could feel all the road imperfections. You could feel a lot of a body roll when you're taking corners at a faster clip. So that's pretty much standard when it comes to these 7-seater pickup-based SUVs. Luckily though, it's not as bad as some of the other, let's say, Japanese 7-seater pickup-based SUVs out there in the market. So when it comes to the suspension comfort, the tuning, yes, it is still a little bit a little bit twitchy, but it's still pretty comfortable for a 7-seater pickup-based SUV. So overall, guys, the Everest Sport pretty much drives like the other Everest variants, at least the ones that are like the 4x2 Everest Titanium, which is equipped with the same transmission, suspension, and engine. So the only difference here is the blue trim, the blacked out bits, which makes this a more handsome looking vehicle, in my opinion. The Everest Sport is essentially an Everest Titanium that has removed the tuxedo and has put on some tight, rockstar jeans and a leather jacket. It has a look that appeals to the sporty lot, and in my opinion, may very well be the best looking Ford Everest in the lineup. Thanks for watching.